of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where I'm going to talk bass fishing and anything else that I want to talk about. Yes, I am flying solo this week. Matthew, folks, I'm here to tell you he is busting his tail trying to get ready for the Central Open over on the Arkansas River. Spoke with him last night, and he's doing okay. He's doing okay. Doing a little exploring, and I'm proud of him, man. He's really done a ton of homework on this event and spending an enormous amount of time on the water just learning the river. Learning the river. So many times it's not just about catching fish during practice, and especially with the way the river is and the characteristics of the river here in Oklahoma. He has spent an enormous amount of time just checking stuff out, and feels pretty good. But a couple more days of practice, and then the Central Open will kick off here on Thursday of this week. So I am flying solo. Got a great week planned. Today we're going to have Jordon Lee on. Man, you talk about one happy camper. All right, I know Jordon Lee is happy, but you know who else is happy? His banker in Alabama. Good grief. The amount of money that this young man has won over the past 4 or 5 years is unbelievable. He just keeps catching them, keeps finding them, and his banker is very, very happy. So we're going to have Jordon Lee on today. Then tomorrow, we're going to have Brandon Cobb on, who had a pretty decent performance at Eufaula. Kind of sitting really good in the Angler of the Year standing. So we're going to have Brandon Cobb on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, we're going to have Matt Airy on. And the dude is having a tremendous season. I know we're only 2 events into it over on the Elite Series, but we're going to have Matt on to talk about his year so far. Good performance at Lake Eufaula. And for those out there that are wondering, yes, I did reach out and try and make contact with Buddy Gross. I did not have any follow-up back from Buddy. I left numerous messages, text messages, voicemails. Did not hear back from Buddy. So I just kind of went down the list trying to make contact with guys that I felt would make a good show this week, and we got a good one. We got Brandon Cobb and Matt Airy. I did reach out to Scott Canterbury, who is currently leading the Angler of the Year race after 2 events, and he is actually on a ocean excursion doing a little deep sea fishing, ocean fishing, whatever you want to call it. So he was not going to have access to any kind of cell service, and we will get him on in the coming weeks. So that's kind of the lineup. And then the one caller, Mike from North Carolina, we're going to try and get him on either Tuesday or Wednesday to kind of co-host the show with me just for a little bit. A lot of great feedback about that phone call that we took on the Sunline hotline. So we're going to try and get Mike on either Tuesday or Wednesday. A couple of things, and I did receive some emails about this. A lot of people are wondering about Kelly J. I did reach out to Kelly. I did make contact with him, and he is just not ready to discuss any of his personal reasons for withdrawing from the Elite Series event at Lake Eufaula. Said that when he was ready to talk about it, that he would reach out to me and let me know that, hey, I'm ready to talk about it. He felt like he was just not ready. He's, whatever the situation is, we wish him the best. with him and his family and decisions that are made. And, Kelly was on the show here recently, and he seemed very fired up to get back in the swing of things. But obviously, he's got some things going on in his life, and our thoughts are with him. And hopefully very soon he will get back in the game and be able to come on the show and talk a little bit about it. But that's the one thing over the 25-plus years that I've been covering this gig. You do not pressure people, or you do not do anything that is lack of respect with what decisions are being made, especially when it comes to personal issues. So I reached out to him, and when he's ready to talk about it, he'll be ready to talk about it. So that's kind of it on Kelly J. The other thing on Mark Menendez, for those that may not know, Mark had to pull out because of a recurring injury, and he's still kind of down, and it has something to do with his back, or these guys and the pounding that their bodies take over the years. Numerous pros over the years have had back issues and back problems, and hip problems and nerve problems and neck problems. So Mark is dealing with some physical challenges right now, and we'll see how long that he's going to be out with what he is dealing with from a injury standpoint. So that's kind of the scoop on Mark Menendez. But wow, 2 great events over the week and weekend, and hopefully everybody got an opportunity to enjoy the action both on Major League Fishing and on ESPN2 or Bassmaster.com. What Buddy Gross did on the final day, I'm sure Scott Canterbury thought that he was going to cruise to another opportunity to win a blue trophy, but Buddy Gross, with 27 pounds on that final day, just put on a clinic. And wow, unbelievable performance by Eufaula Lake on the amount of fish that were caught, and the coverage that was on ESPN2. Folks, I'm going to tell you, I'm really curious to see what the ratings are going to be like, because of all of the lack of sporting events that are on television, to see how many additional fans were potentially drawn to what was taking place on ESPN2 with the Elite Series, to see how much those numbers either increased or decreased. I can't imagine that they're going to decrease. I really can't. I think, people are kind of sick of watching cornhole and everything else that's been out there, drone racing and all these other obscure games, sports, however you want to classify them, that the numbers have to be really good. And with some of my research, that was just a tremendous opportunity, because from what I understand, there was no monetary transaction to get that on ESPN2, and they didn't have to pay a dime for that. Zero. Can you imagine? That is a relationship thing. It had to be a relationship thing, even though at one time everybody knows ESPN owned Bass, but the relationship that still remains with BASS and ESPN obviously was played to its fullest by giving Bass an opportunity to have all that TV time on ESPN2 and ESPN3, which they already did. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the ratings and the numbers are going to be like with the exposure that the Elite Series got on ESPN2. Now, let's flip over to the other side. Major League Fishing, the heavy hitters. Man, that final day, it was unbelievable, the fish catches that were highlighted during that day. If you were like me, kind of going back and forth, it was cool to kind of capture that one catch and then be able to see it play out and see how things were going. And then all of a sudden, Jordon Lee starts to really pull away. He caught, what was it, a 7-pounder, and it ended up being a $100,000 fish. Then he ends up winning the tournament, $200,000. Just some major drama on Major League Fishing with the heavy hitters, and just outstanding. Folks, we were spoiled. We were absolutely spoiled. If you took the time to watch some of the bass fishing, both on ESPN2, Bassmaster.com, and on MajorLeagueFishing.com, it is very unfortunate, and I've said this for years. It's very unfortunate that we can't get a system or a connection to where the trails are not connected during the same time period. All right? That's just a fact. And obviously people trying to get events in because of the COVID-19 situation. I just hope that in the future that this does not exist somehow, some way. We can have a summit. We can do whatever. And I know scheduling is being worked out for 2021 right now. But how cool would it be to have the fans' entire focus on Major League Fishing, or the fans' entire focus on the Elite Series, or the fans' entire focus on the FLW Tour? Are we there? Probably not. But can we get there? I got my fingers crossed, and I think all the fans and anglers and sponsors and everybody involved with this game, hopefully one day we can get to that point. A couple other things, and then we'll take a break and come back with Jordon Lee live via Skype. Interesting thing that I did for a little while on Saturday. I actually went striper fishing down on Lake Texoma super, super early. I mean, I was out there the crack of dawn and wasn't out there very long. But we were fishing for striper with live shad, and we're sitting out in 60 feet of water. And guess what my son AJ catches? There is no structure around whatsoever. I mean, there is nothing. It is just a kind of a highway where these striper just kind of move through as they're going wherever they're going. He ends up catching almost a 5-pound largemouth on a live shad out in the middle of nowhere. And I was going to have a picture of it, but I didn't have time. I was running behind trying to get stuff ready for the show. But yeah, he catches a 5-pounder on a live shad in 60 foot of water because we were fishing on the bottom out in the middle of nowhere. It's just like, what are you doing, Mr. Largemouth? But, you know, I asked the guy that I was with, does this happen a lot? And he said, no. He said a lot of times they'll catch smallmouth when they're striper fishing. But it was a blast, man. It was chaos for about 90 minutes. 90 minutes of chaos, rods going all over the place. And AJ, my son, little father-son time there, caught a 5-pound largemouth in 60 foot of water while we're striper fishing. So kind of crazy. The other thing I want to mention, folks down in Texas, you guys have a gem. And I'm not talking about a lake. I'm not talking about a tackle store. I had my first experience with Buc-ee's. Yes, we stopped. We got gas at Buc-ee's. That place is unbelievable. And I don't know if people know about what this is. I guess in between San Antonio and Austin, they have the world's largest convenience store. And that's what this Buc-ee's place is. It is a convenience store that is like a mega monster. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. You can buy everything from a soda to a smoker if you want. Food, gas, snacks, clothing. It's unbelievable. I don't know how many pumps they have at this place, but it's got to be at least 40, maybe 50. And the one that's in between San Antonio and Austin or down there has like 80 pumps because we were looking into it. Anyway, it's a cool place. I think they're getting ready to expand. They're actually working on building a mammoth one in, I believe, Alabama. But right now they have one in Louisiana and then the rest are in Texas. So if you haven't had an opportunity when you go to Texas to go to a Buc-ee's, I highly recommend that's where you get gas and a snack because that place was unbelievable. 50 gas pumps, and they were all full. I don't think that place felt any pain during the COVID-19. Place is unbelievable. They got 50 smokers outside, and people are buying them like crazy. Buc-ee's. Never heard of it. Have now. All right. And then let's see here. The last thing. We're going to check in with Matt tomorrow. All right. He was going to go to an area that had really, really bad cell service today. So we're going to check in with Matt tomorrow. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of good news. Had good news, like I said last night when I spoke with him. And feels fairly good about this week. So conditions are setting up just prime conditions for the river this week. It is going to be a very, very exciting event to watch and follow. Obviously, with my interest in it, being here in Oklahoma and being familiar with the river, I'm really curious to see. My prediction was I think somebody's going to really, really pound them pretty good, even though there has been quite a bit of practice pressure and a couple of other small tournaments that have taken place on the river. I still think it's going to take close to 60 pounds, 20 pounds a day to win on the river. But could be wrong, but I think that's how it's setting up. With all the stable weather and the condition that the river's in right now, we could see 60 pounds to win this thing when we roll into Saturday. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break. We're going to come back with the man who probably has a really good relationship with his local banker there in Alabama. I'm talking about Jordon Lee. Coming back with him right now. Everybody stay tuned right here on a Monday.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to side scan and down scan imaging, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Lew's doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it the sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
Hey everybody, Todd Faircloth here. Want to show you one of my favorite braided lines, SX1 30-pound Sunline braid. I use this braided line for a couple of different applications, and one of my favorites to use for this line is a swim jig. Casts great, and it's small diameter, and just works really great on a swim jig. Another technique I like to use for 30-pound SX1 Sunline braid is whenever I'm flipping like a light, say an 1/8 to a 1/4 ounce weight in grass, small diameter, I don't lose much action on my worm, just works great in those scenarios. So if you're looking for a braided line for a swim jig or fishing a light Texas rig, check out Sunline's SX1 30-pound braid.
All All right, Mark back with you, flying solo this week. And summertime is definitely here. And speaking of fire, somebody that is truly on fire, our next guest, and really glad that he could take time out to join us. And if you have any questions for Jordon, please get him queued up on the instant feedback. We're going to spend some time with him, and I'm really intrigued with some of the information that has been placed in some of the press releases and how he caught him on the K chain. And man, it's just it is a good thing to be Jordon Lee right now. So let's bring him in. Jordon, you there, man?
I am. I'm here. What's going on?
All right. Thanks for what now?
Thanks for having me on. I mean, I'll always take my time out for Bass Talk Live. I listen to y'all's podcast and stuff. So it's definitely an honor, even though Matt's not there.
I know
that's the only reason I'm on. Because anytime he's not there, that's usually when I get on the show. So we got to that.
No, man. I watched quite a bit of what went down at the Heavy Hitters, and just amazing. Absolutely amazing. I know so many people that have interviewed you and put little press releases or little stories out are just amazed at the run that you're on. And you're always like, I can't explain it. And is it not just a weird feeling, though?
I had a good feeling this week. A lot of tournaments you go into and I mean, some tournaments you feel like you don't know what you're doing, and you put a little something together maybe, and you make a cut, or you do well, you get a check, and this week it was different. I mean, I really, for once, I felt really confident going in this tournament. I felt like I was on something better than average, better than I usually am. And I didn't really have to go off the fly. Like, I knew going into this tournament what I was going to do, where I was going to do it, and that never really happens for me.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it was a good feeling going into this event. But, yeah, I mean, I really, if you'd asked me earlier in the week, like, dead honestly, off the record, I mean, I never say it, but, I mean, I really felt like I was on something maybe special.
Yeah, many comments about that you don't like to be in crowds. You like to kind of get away. And the way that it sounds like things developed to where you targeted brush piles and really this out kind of structure, was that your plan going into it, and how did that all come about?
So I mean, in this, we get 2 days of practice. It's not very much, especially on what you call it, the K chain. I like that, the K chain. Mm-hmm. 4 different lakes, 2 days. It's hard to break down. I looked the first day of practice. I looked at every lake. I fished Kissimmee a decent bit without much success. I fished the grass on Toho, and then I locked down. And Toho seemed to be where a lot of boats were. There's a lot of grass on Toho, offshore grass, and I wasn't getting a ton of bites in it. I was catching some, but there was a lot of boats doing it, looking for it. And I don't know why, but the second day of practice, I decided to just idle around out there and look for really like isolated grass. That's what I was looking for, just something, because you ride around on Toho and you'll see your depth finder pop up and you'll see the grass. And that's when you stop and you start idling. Well, I was kind of looking for those small patches out there, and I was idling. I just happened to come across, a brush pile, and instantly caught a fish out of it. And there was a big one with it. And I caught another one, and so I just kept looking for it, and I found more and more. And I kind of waited to the first day of the tournament before I really, fished them and figured out what was living in them.
Did they replenish, Jordon? Was that a situation? I know across the country, a lot of brush piles, you catch a couple out of them and they replenish because the bait are attracted to that brush pile. What was the situation there?
So Toho, it's a real flat lake. In the area I was fishing, there wasn't any grass, and those fish wanted to be offshore and 85, 86 degree water. They wanted to be offshore, and the brush piles were the only thing around. And it wouldn't be I had one spot that just in the morning they were just firing on, and it seemed like they would replenish. I mean, the final day, it seemed like the biggest fish showed up when it mattered most, which was, that's a great scenario. But yeah, it seemed like new fish were out there, and they would kind of move around in those brush piles. Like, it seemed like every day a different brush pile was a really good, spot, and you may hit it twice, 3 times and never get bit. And then all of a sudden you pull up and it's just boom, boom, boom. And they were really aggressive. They weren't really getting fished, and it was just kind of a dream, really a dream scenario in a tournament to have that to yourself and really not see anyone inside. I mean, maybe one other boat here and there.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you this. From a mental standpoint, with the score tracker and constantly being updated on who was behind you. I mean, you won by like 19 pounds and you started to pull away. Mentally, was that even a factor? Did you score tracker watch, in other words, or were you just totally focused on the task at hand?
I was, I try to just be focused on the task at hand, because it seems like when I get relaxed and really, if you have a lead like that, it can really bite you, because you slow down and you think. It's almost like a basketball game or something. You see these teams get these big leads, and then they'll kind of just kick back, and then all of a sudden they get beat by 2 points in the end. And that's what can happen in our deal, because you get relaxed and guys can throw 3, 4, 5 pounders on there. All of a sudden that leads nothing. And that's how I approached it, and that's how that final day I just kept at it, and I felt I fished like tried to fish like I was 20 pounds back, because you never know. And that's the cool thing about Major League Fishing is, you can go from 0 to hero, and I've done it before, and it's a lot of fun when you're not out of it. So you really gotta pound it when you can.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the 7.4 that you caught. What'd you catch it on? And did you feel like, I know it's kind of stupid. I mean, people say, oh yeah, I'm on big fish. But confidence-wise, with what you were throwing, was this a big fish bait? How did that whole thing go down?
Really, I was just, I had this area, the spot really, and I was rotating through a lot of baits. I was trying everything on it, and I'll show you the bait right here that I caught it on. But I got some, a lot of the baits that I threw last week right here. But this was the $100,000 hair jig bait, and I was just rotating through baits, and I hadn't, it's not normal to throw this down there, and I had it in the rod locker tied on. Just to have, and I threw it off and on all week, and I never got bit on it, and I was just wanted to try something different. So I picked it up, and I believe it was my first cast out there, and I was burning it. I burn it and kill it. It's a Tennessee River deal. A friend of mine, David Allen, he made these hair jigs for me. And, it paid off. I mean, it's the only fish I caught on it all week. And it hit me right at the boat. I mean, it was really it was a lucky fish catch, bite, whatever, but it was the biggest fish I caught off that spot in 4 days. And, it was just meant to be. I mean, I caught some big ones all week, but, that one mattered the most. So,
well, obviously, I mean, geez, yeah, the hair jigs are probably going to be flying off the desk and the shelves if they can find them. Good grief. I know a lot of people here in Oklahoma, just like what you have, they hand make them. And it's not like mass produced. There's so many very unique characteristics about a hair jig, bucktail jig, whatever you want to call them. So it's interesting. I am totally intrigued that you caught that fish on that hair jig, especially in Florida, because I don't know how many people have ever thrown a hair jig on the K-chain.
Yeah, I know. I didn't really even think about it. I had them in the boat. I had all my ledge stuff in the boat, really, just because you never know. And, I'm sure I was catching fish on a bigger swim bait, and I think there was some bigger shad probably around, whatever. There's needlefish, all kinds of stuff. But I just think showing the fish something different. I mean, that's really the main thing. And, how pressured these lakes are now. I mean, the fish get found, they get caught a lot. And I just wanted to show them something different. And I just, wanted to give it a try.
Was there a trailer on it?
No, there's not a trailer on it. It's basically just it's there's some little bit longer feathers and some flashaboo in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This one, he makes it. I mean, it's a really good hair jig. I mean, I don't know what it is about it. I think just the longer feathers and then a little bit of that flashaboo. You can see it.
Yeah.
It really that flashaboo is a little bit longer than a lot of hair jigs. And when it goes in the water, it just it's hard to explain, but it's got really good action. I mean, it looks something, it looks unique out there. And but a hair jig's a great bait on the Tennessee River, and it's got more popular over the last 6-7 years. But I was a marshal one time. A quick story on first time I saw a hair jig. I was in it was like 2008, and I was on Wheeler, and I fished with Davey Hite. I got Drew out with him, and he picked up a hair jig, and it was long. It was like twice as big as this one.
Wow.
And he caught him that day on it, and that's the first time I saw it. And I think that tournament, Kevin kind of let the cat out of the bag. And I don't know, I've thrown it off and on since. And I mean, I throw it a lot on gunners, want to catch a lot of big fish on it. So something just a confidence bait, really.
I remember the first time I saw it in a high-level competitive situation was the classic that Jay Yellis won. Aaron Martins was actually using that hair jig where there was a lot of current way, way, way upriver, not too far from where Jay was. And I was just blown away by what Aaron was doing with that hair jig and just absolutely smashing him.
I remember that. Yeah. It's kind of a unique bait, and it looks like a big shad, and it's just, I think it would work really anywhere. And you see guys pulling them out now and catch fish on them when you probably wouldn't really think, but it's a unique bait, and it gets bit by big fish, really. I mean, it's a big fish bait. If I had one bait just to catch a big one like on the Tennessee River, it'd probably be that one.
Yeah. So what's your setup for the hair jig? What'd you use?
Yeah, so I got it right here. I'll see if I can pan down and show you. I got a lot of the setups I used, but this was the rod and reel setup that I used. I like throwing this ALF from Abu Garcia. It's just kind of a low profile reel, but I was using 12-pound fluorocarbon. This is 100% 12-pound fluorocarbon. It's a little bit on the light side, of anything you're targeting big fish with, but I do like a little bit lighter line on this. It gives gives the bait more action. And I was throwing a 7-foot, I don't know if you can see that, 7-foot medium heavy Fanatista Premier Abu Garcia rod. But that 12-pound line, it gives the bait a little bit more action instead of throwing like 17 or 20. And I think that makes a difference a lot of times. I don't know if it did this off that fish, but when you're throwing it deeper, I do like a little bit lighter line on there.
Wow. 7-pounder on a hair jig, and then Mark Rose had the situation where he caught the big fish on the little finesse worm with the spinning rod reel. It's kind of unique for the K chain. All right, man.
Yeah.
You're leading right now, leading the point standings. You got one event. I know that there is a lot of excitement going up north to Lake Champlain. What are your thoughts on the final event going into it?
Yeah, Champlain's it's been good to me throughout, the last, 8 years, 10 years, whatever. It's honestly my favorite lake. I mean, it should be a great tournament. There should be a lot of smallmouth, largemouth mix. It always produces, those 17 to 20 pound stringers. And, I think with our minimum, I don't know what it's going to be, 2 pounds, 3 pounds. But there'll be a lot of numbers caught and, a lot of good ones caught. But, I think it's going to be a great tournament.
All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with some questions on the instant feedback from the fans. So just hold tight, Jordan. We'll be back after these few messages right here on Monday. Everybody stay tuned.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition, AFCO has you covered.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a grate for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back with our special guest, Jordon Lee, and it is time to go to some of the questions on the instant feedback. And let's see here. Some of these are kind of funny. Let's see here. A number of people here. I was trying to figure out what some of these people were saying. A number of people want to know, moving up to the 3-pound on the final day, did that change your strategy in any way?
It didn't. You know, I mean, honestly, it really doesn't change your strategy. I mean, for me, you know, even if it was a 5-fish tournament, a 2-pound, 1 pound, 3 pound, I was, you know, trying to find something different. And I was catching those bigger fish throughout the week. And, you know, I was trying to catch the numbers and the big ones really, but it doesn't really change your strategy. It didn't change my strategy really from the get-go. And I really don't fish the Major League Fishing really with a different mindset than I would even a normal, you know, 5-fish tournament. So it's you would think it may, but it really doesn't, because in the end you can see, you know, the big fish really matter, and it really bumps you up when you catch one of those. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
All right, Jim in Indiana wants to know, was there any kind of contour change on the area that you were targeting offshore?
There wasn't. You know, on Toho, it's literally, it's just flat. It's almost like, you know, there's only a couple lakes in Florida's. I mean, all those lakes really, minus a couple of them, you know, have no really contour change. It's really just flat. And I was fishing, you know, brush piles that were just on flats really, and there was 5, 6, maybe 7 foot was at the deepest. But you'd have to go a couple hundred yards to even notice a foot change out there.
Interesting. Very, very flat, very bowlish.
Yeah, very, very flat. No real changes. You know, it's different from, like, you know, Alabama, Oklahoma, you know, where we actually have points and stuff like that. It's just flat out there, and there's no real notice changes on your, you know, your depth finder.
All right, Andy in Indiana, did you have the same boat official the entire week? Is that right?
I did. You know, they did that really, you know, just kind of for safety issues, I guess. They didn't really want to be swapping around a lot of guys. But yeah, Jim, he was with me all week. Same camera guy. We had a good time out there. You know, those boat officials are awesome. I mean, I can't say enough too. I mean, he sat there and took the heat. I mean, it was hot. Gosh, it was hot. 100 degrees like every day, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I had the same one. We had some good memories for sure.
Very cool. Chase in Oklahoma wants to know, which super tournament are you looking forward to the most?
Oh, I'll tell you, I'm not looking forward to Chickamauga. Really, I'm excited about it, but same time, 209 boats on Tennessee River Lake in the summer. Oh, it sounds like a headache, but I'm probably looking forward to La Crosse the most. You know, I've had only really one good tournament there, but I really like the way it fishes, and, you know, you throw frog a lot, and that's what hopefully I'll find up there. But I'm looking forward to La Crosse and hopefully some good frog bites.
All right, Jim in Indiana wants to know, right now, if you had to pick, and this is kind of a out there question, but when you go to Champlain, are you thinking green or are you thinking brown?
You know, most times when I fish a tournament there, I usually go after smallmouth. They've gotten where you can win, you know, big tournaments on smallmouth. And every time I've done well, I've really found those smallmouth grouped up. And that's what I'm thinking going into it. But, you know, there's largemouth too, and you got to mix those in. So I probably will try to find both in 2 days of practice, and it's just an awesome lake. If you've never been, and that's the one lake I would let anybody, man. It's a fun lake. It's not, it's area related, but it's just a phenomenal lake. I really like how it fishes. So I got a lot of history there with smallmouth. So I'm probably gonna look for those to start with.
All right, Drew in Texas wants to know if you ever fished Florida in June before.
That was the first time. I think that was probably the first time for a lot of guys besides some of the Florida guys. And, it was definitely a unique deal. I think it was cool to go down there in the summer, just to see something different. Normally it's we're there January, February, always. And it's usually a flipping deal or a chatterbait. And so, this was totally new for all of us. And I think that, finding that offshore stuff and not a lot of people were looking for it. It benefited me big time, but that was the first time ever, fishing down there in the summer.
All right, let's see here. Matt in Alabama wants to know on Thursday when, let's see here. What did you catch the 8-pounder on, and how did you mentally recover missing the big bass by 1 ounce on Thursday?
Yeah, so I caught the big one on a 2.5 square bill, and I really thought I had that big fish all day until right there at the end, Michael Neal caught 1 ounce bigger, and I was pretty bummed out, but it didn't let me ruin the day or anything. I knew I was fishing the next day, and I had an opportunity to get a lot more, and try to win the tournament. That was my goal, but you just you got to put it past you. That's what I had to put it past me. There's nothing you can do, and it's always a possibility somebody's going to catch one bigger in any tournament. So I just had to really throw it behind me, and I wanted to cry myself to sleep that night. I know that because it was a bummer, but I definitely had more to look forward to in fishing that final day. So if I wouldn't have been able to fish that final day, it would have been a tearjerker.
All right, a long-time listener and watcher, Craig, who lives on Lake Oneida, wants to know if there's any possibility that you might fish the Open on Lake Oneida.
No, I'm not fishing the Open out there. There's a lot of tournaments coming up. I'm going to have my hands full. I know July, I think I know I have 3 events in July, so I'm going to be covered up, and then in August got some of the super tournaments, so I'm going to have plenty to fish this year. So, but I'm sure it'll be a good time up there.
All right, Maynard wants to know, were you cranking the 2.5 on a 7-foot Veracity rod?
Yeah, so I'll show you the rod I was throwing. I was throwing a 7.4. Well, that didn't work. This is the one I was throwing. Hold on one second. It's a 7.4 medium heavy moderate fast rod, and it's a great. I was throwing a Revo Premier 6.6 to 1, so I wanted a little faster gear ratio, but 7.4 Veracity medium heavy, and it's a good chatterbait rod. And something like a big square bill like that, you don't want something that's. I didn't want to be throwing a 7-foot medium heavy. I felt like I kind of had control over those fish, with that little bit bigger rod.
Yeah. Hey, a number of people, including Den in Louisiana, wants to know, is there anything else you can show us in your shop?
Oh man, I can pan around and show you. I got enough tackle. It's a mini tackle warehouse.
Oh, can you go sideways? There we go.
Yeah, I got some slab wall in here, and I got tackle back there too that I kind of keep, some kayaks. Got a little John boat. Got got a TV that doesn't work over there, and got some AC up there too. So I'm out here just in the boat right now. But yeah, I moved out here so I could kind of build this shop. But it's definitely it's lit up good. It's kind of a home base, and it's definitely I definitely enjoy having it. But yeah, so that's pretty much the shop in a nutshell.
Very nice. All right, what are your thoughts on going to the Chick next week?
Chickamauga, I hadn't fished a big tournament there before, and summertime TBA, you're going to see a lot of ledge fishing. I'm going to try to stay away from the crowds like I did last week, and 209 boats, it's a lot of strategy involved, because a lot of the good spots, the well-known, probably community places and the whole lot of fish are going to be taken up and found pretty easily. So, I'm going to try to, hopefully find something different. I don't know what that is, but, there's a lot of grass in Chickamauga too, and you can fish docks and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to just, wherever I see the boats, I'm going to try to go the other way like I did last week. And, it's a unique lake, and there's a lot of different options you can fish.
Yeah. All right. Interesting question from Dennis in Illinois, and this is him talking. He says, the biggest problem I have when fishing tournaments is knowing when to give up on a spot or stick it out. How can you help in making that decision?
That's a great question, and that's a tough decision to make. I feel like if it's producing, and typically I'll stay on a spot if I've caught good fish there all week. Normally we're fishing a multi-day event, but if you fish a spot for 15 minutes and it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you don't get bit, it's time to move around. And if you got a gut feeling, you feel like there's some fish around, just kind of fish around the area, and either idle it or fish around it. And if you don't get bit 20, 30 minutes in and you've changed a few techniques, it's time to move on and look somewhere else. Because normally if they're there, they're gonna bite something. Whether you have to spin and rod them, you have to change techniques. So, that's kind of my rule of thumb. I'll work an area 20, 30 minutes and a couple different baits. If they're not there, something's changed, I'll kind of move on.
We talked to a skeet last week about he was keying on sand, and Cortez has a question about sandy bottoms, but typically structure, all across the country is grass, rocks, wood, whatever it is. Well, what about sand? And what advice can you give anybody about the fish relating to sand? Does that happen? With some of the lakes in Florida, obviously you have some sand around there. There are very few lakes, I think, across the country that do have a sand-based structure. Any thoughts on that for Cortez?
The only real times that I've personally got on a bite where I've caught them around sand is smallmouth. Where you got like maybe a lot of grass, like a lake like Lake St. Clair. You have a lot of grass and you have sand, and you have it's like an open hole. That's where I've caught fish out of sand. It's really a bottom change, and it's something a lot of times you can't see with your graph. A lot of times it's with your eyes, on those clear lakes where you can see that sand. And a lot of times those smallmouth will but largemouth, not really. Normally it's something else maybe. I think skeet was probably fishing a lot of current too, and it probably had a good clean bottom there. And so it's really just like the bottom changing. And but smallmouth really relate to that sand more than largemouth do. It seems like.
Jordon, with all the success that you've had, do you get bombarded with phone calls? And I'm not talking about from the media. I'm talking about people that either want to get involved with the Jordon Lee brand or people that just want to reach out to you, obviously with the openness of social media. But with all this success, it would seem to me that your phone's just freaking ringing off the wall.
It stays pretty busy. The phone does. But I love it. I mean, I really do. I got so many friends and fishing friends that support me, and I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it at all. But yeah, it does stay. It does stay pretty busy on the phone. It rings quite often, but it's part of it, and it's not a big deal. I enjoy talking to whoever I'm talking to, but it definitely has opened up a whole can of worms, so to speak. Especially when you win a tournament or something like that, it rings more than usual.
I remember when Matt shot the Gunnersville documentary that we did. I mean, that was 5 or 6 years ago, and seeing you and your brother down by that boat dock that you guys talked about, this is where we grew up, this is the little cut and everything. To see you from that documentary 5 years ago to what you've turned into and the success that you've had is really, really amazing. And obviously one of the hardest workers in this game. And it is so cool to see the development over the years to get to the success the level that you're at. And it's funny because when I was watching you and I was watching the stream, it's like you're kind of like a laid back guy. You're just kind of, I don't want to say happy-go-lucky. You're just kind of just this nice guy. And then all of a sudden, the emotion that you show is like an explosion of yes.
Yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere. Where did that come from?
It comes out of nowhere. I mean, I get fired up. People, and I say people, they kind of know me as a, laid back guy. And I am, I feel like I'm pretty laid back. But, in a tournament, in the heat of things, I get fired up. I mean, I love, catching a big one in a tournament. I mean, that's really when you're doing well and I just get fired up, man. I mean, it's kind of what I live for. And, it definitely comes out. Sorry, I'm trying to brighten up my phone, but it definitely comes out, in the heat of the moment. But I love fishing tournaments. I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm fishing for $100 and a Tuesday nighter. I mean, I still get fired up, man. I fish small tournaments still, and I mean, it's just what I do, and I just love it.
It's awesome, man. I had a kid that I coached. This was 10, 15 years ago, and he was so laid back. He was a great, great player. But he didn't show a whole lot of emotion, even when the game was close and you're in a tight game, battling, your rival and everything else that's taking place. And then all of a sudden, he hits this big bucket to put us ahead, and he went absolutely nuts. We're like, holy crap, what's gotten into, Jeff? Geez, what is he doing? And he ended up having a great game. And every time I see you celebrate or I see that emotion ooze out of you from that situation, I always think about that kid. But I think it's awesome, man. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and when you're competing it's any sport, anything like that. I mean, you get fired up, I mean, you feel, you put all the effort in and, you catch that fish or whatever, you make that good decision and it feels good. I mean, that's what we live for, because you don't make them all the time and you don't catch them all the time. So when you do, it feels pretty good.
So where's the belt at?
The belt is inside my house. We got it just set up in there somewhere. But it's a pretty cool it's a pretty cool deal if y'all hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
I think I just got something posted on Instagram and stuff like that on the Facebook as well of with the belt. But definitely a unique deal, a Heavy Hitters belt.
Yeah. Did you put it on? Did you put it on?
I put it on. I had to. I had to put it on. I put it on right then and there. I felt like a WWE, The Rock or something, putting the belt on. But it's definitely a cool little deal.
Super heavy too, isn't it?
It was heavy. You know, it's got these they're not real diamonds, of course, but they look real. They look real to me. I'll call them. We'll just say they're real, but but yeah, I put it on and I had to tote it around, with the belt on there.
Hey, Andy in Indiana says you should patent the signature tight arm, double arm pump. That seems to be your move.
That's my move. Yeah, the up and down.
Yeah,
yeah. That's my go-to.
I like it.
When I get mega fired up, that's what I do.
Hey, a couple of people, including Maynard, can you fish multiple lakes next week?
Yeah, on Chickamauga, I think we're allowed to lock to Watts Bar and to Nickajack if you wanted to. But I think some guys will catch them locking. I don't think I'm going to lock. I mean, I may, but I doubt it just because Chickamauga, you're kind of one cast away from a 8, 9, 10 pounder. I mean, so it'll be hard for me to leave.
Yeah. All right. I'm really curious, dude. With all the money that you've won, have you treated yourself to anything? Like there's just one thing I'm dying to have. Have you bought that yet?
I mean, honestly, I really got everything I need. I'm a fish. I mean, when you're a fisherman, I feel like we're so low key. And I mean, I got a boat, I got a truck, I got a couple boats. I actually got 3 boats and some kayaks. I mean, that's what I like to do. So, I mean, there's not really anything else I need. So I'm not really a guy that, I don't know. I don't really spend a lot, believe it. I mean, I spend a lot on fishing, but outside that, I don't really buy anything that's, I don't know. I mean, fishermen just don't buy stuff. We don't go out and buy a Lamborghini or anything like that, I mean,
well, Ish does.
Besides Ish buying, 26s for his Hummer or something. But no, I mean, really, I don't. I'm pretty low key guy, so I don't know. I mean, my wife, she doesn't really spend a ton keyword.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we just live kind of simple.
Very nice. I thought you might have stepped up and bought maybe a 4-wheeler, a hunting vehicle or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I'm not really a big hunter, and a lot of, obviously, like 99% of fishermen hunt. I do a little hunting, but and I may treat myself to something like that. That'd be kind of cool. But I mean, really, I'd probably use it like one time and it'd be sitting collecting dust. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll let you know, though. I'll let you know. You'll be the first person I'll reach out to if I buy something cool, and I'll send you a picture of it.
Dude, you're being smart. I'm proud of you, man. You're taking care of that cash.
I do. I mean, it's hard enough to win. I mean, they don't give it to you. It doesn't fall off trees. So, I mean, I have spent. I mean, this shop that I'm sitting in right now, I mean, it wasn't cheap, and I've spent some dough on some cool stuff, but it's more really investment and for fishing.
Yeah.
And, it's something I use every day. So.
All right, very cool. A couple of people want to know, do you have the cape and the crown?
The cape and the crown. Honestly, I don't know where it is. We've moved since then, and I think we actually maybe auctioned it, or donated the cape and the crown from the Zona show. Is what they're referring to.
Yeah.
Well, I think we donated it and gave it away for a good cause, I believe. So. I don't have the cape and the crown, but I do have the memories from that. So,
quite the fight.
Yeah, quite the fight. Yeah, the battle.
Yeah. Wow. Jim in Indiana says you need to buy a Kubota. Get a tractor. Do a little tractor work, man.
My brother, he's into all that. I'll let him buy all the cool stuff. He works a lot. He's got tractors, he's got four wheelers, he's got dirt bikes, he's got all that cool stuff. I mean, I just got a couple boats and stuff like that. Not anything super cool.
That's all good, man. Really, really, really cool. All right, no iCast, obviously. Are you coming out with anything new? Are you working on anything new from a lure or from really anything from a performance standpoint?
Honestly, we got a few things in the working from Berkeley that I don't think they're going to be out at iCast. I think they're going to wait till next year. Some new baits. Always in the works. Trying to. Berkeley, they've really stepped it up last several years, and I think it's just getting better too, and coming out with some new sizes and stuff like that of baits, and just working, trying to think of new stuff every day, and that's what it's about. For fishermen, really, you want to see something new, and but I don't think anything this year that I'm coming out with would be released at iCast, but always in the works.
All right. Obviously, no iCast this year going into next year. Everybody knows that. Ryan in Kentucky wants to know, you showed a picture of it, but what is it, a John boat that you have and a kayak? Is that what you have?
Yeah. I got I fish a lake close to my house. I grew up fishing tournaments there, and it's a 25 horsepower lake. And I still fish tournaments out there Monday night, Friday night, every now and then. I thought about fishing tonight, believe it or not.
Wow.
But this is my Katoma rig is what we call them. But it's just a flat bottom. I actually got a HDS 16 up here. It's trashed right now, but I got a 16 on my flat bottom, 25 horsepower. Motor on there, but got some kayaks back here. Normally, I got a Ranger 198 aluminum boat that goes right there, but it's in the shop. Getting some stuff work done to it, but I like fishing out of these aluminum boats and stuff. It's kind of how I grew up fishing.
Now, do you have any famous neighbors?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't live in the. I don't live in. I don't know. It's not like I live next to Tom Brady or anything. I'm not that balling yet. I don't think I'll ever be that balling where I live in a neighborhood. I mean, it's not really even a neighborhood. I got 3 acres and. Really moved over here to Coleman. That's where I grew up. There's not really anybody famous in Coleman, so.
Doesn't Swindle used to live close there, didn't he?
Yeah, he lived in Hayden, but he didn't live in Coleman.
Okay.
But yeah, Coleman's kind of a small town, but it's gotten bigger. But yeah, there's not really a ton popping around here.
All right. Yeah. Any signs in Coleman? Home of Jordon Lee?
No.
None of that?
No. I don't think I'd let them put it up. I'd probably take it down if they put it up.
Oh, come on, man. Even Biffle. When you go to Wagner, Oklahoma, Biffle has a sign.
Yeah, Biffle would have a sign there, though. He would have a sign. And exactly what you said, Wagner, Oklahoma. There you go.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Not throwing shade at Wagner, but yeah, Coleman, it's a great place to live. Anywhere you grew up, it's always a good place to live, but it really is. It's a good town. And we moved back here from Gunnersville. And when I lived in Grant, though, actually, after I won the Classic, they wanted to put a sign up, and I was like, because it wasn't really my hometown and stuff. And I was like, it wasn't in my best interest to know where I let everybody know where I live. So
yeah,
I just kind of kept a low key up there.
All right, let me see here. Let me do a little math real quick. You're coming up on, I believe, your 10-year high school reunion. Is that true?
I think last year.
Oh, it was last year?
Yeah. It was 2000. I graduated in 2009. So 19 was my high school reunion, but I had some stuff going on, so I didn't go. But I still obviously see people from high school every now and then, and I'm still friends with a couple people.
Yeah. Any of your teachers, you ever see any of your teachers, all the success that you've had, do they ever say anything to you about it or anything?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, I'm still friends with a few of the teachers. I mean, and even actually in college, a couple of them keep up with me from Auburn, on social media and stuff, and they chime in every now and then. A couple of my professors from Auburn, Auburn's a huge school, and for them to, I mean, they didn't know anything about fishing or anything like that, and they knew I was serious about it, and they kind of kept up with me after the fact. So, so I still have a few teachers, from high school and college that, kind of keep up, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it is cool. All right. Dennis in Illinois wants to know, what's the one piece of equipment that you probably rely on the most during a tournament? Nowadays, really, probably my units. I run two, Lowrance Live 12s at the console. I actually got one of them on. I don't know if you can see that right now, but I got two at the console and I got a 16 up front. But the units nowadays, I mean, you can learn so much from it. It's not really about seeing the fish more or less than, kind of figuring out what you're fishing and just dialing it in on what you're fishing. And I mean, it's stupid nowadays. I mean, just how you can pinpoint them, and we're constantly learning and evolving with it, and and it's crazy though, just what you can learn from them. So that's what I'm using a lot of tournaments. All right, couple more, man, and we'll let you go. Back to the hair jig. Tony wants to know, when you were targeting that area with the hair jig, were you trying to keep it outside of the grass, or were you working it fast enough for it to be above the grass? And you weren't even fishing it around grass to begin with, were you? No, those brush piles that were on this just bare, really flat. I mean, if there was grass, it was like that tall, and so there wasn't any grass really. But those fish were I could kind of visualize them out there, but there was. There would be some brush piles, like one spot where I caught the big one. There was a couple little brush piles around there, and I could feel them with a crankbait and a worm. And when I was slinging that hair jig out there, I just kind of wanted to get it around that brush. And those fish would just they wouldn't always be like right in the heart of the brush. They'd be around it. And I feel like they were just kind of, swimming around, and that's when I was throwing really the swim bait and the worm, the crankbait. I mean, I was just kind of making different angle cast out there, and until I, caught one really. But, trying to just get it around that cover, around those brush piles, and not really just dead in it until I was, throwing the plastics and stuff. I was wanting to get the bait directly in the stuff, but that's kind of what I was doing. Yeah. Was the plastics that you were using, were you pegging them? I wasn't pegging them. I was throwing them, on a 3/8 ounce tungsten. And this is just really the setup. I was throwing a couple different worms, but a 3/8, and this may be a quarter right here. This is called a kingtail. It's a Maxent worm. I caught a lot of fish on that, and this 10-inch power worm too. But I wasn't pegging the worm. Just putting a 5/0 hook on there and 20-pound line, but that was really just typical Florida worm fishing. I mean, but I was trying to get it in that brush and just kind of soak it, and I was definitely caught a lot of big fish. All right, very cool. Jim in Arlington, Texas wants to know,
What is your snack and beverage choice when you get a break?
When you get a break on the water,
Yeah.
well, my wife came down with me. She always does usually, and she packs me a pretty good lunch. I mean, typically I'm drinking water. I mean, like this week it was so hot. I mean, I was chugging waters left and right. I would eat maybe a Kind bar or something like that, or I would eat a sandwich, peanut butter or strawberry and jelly sandwich. That's kind of my go-to.
All right.
Not great, but strawberry. And every now and then, a couple days she made a ham and cheese, just normal sandwich. But I don't get when I'm super hot like that. I'm not usually starving, so
Yeah.
I kind of wait till after the day and cool down to eat a lot. But yeah, just chugging waters, man. It was extremely hot down there.
Yeah. It looked miserable. All right.
It was miserable.
Mike in New York wants to know, what is that? A 60 by 40 building?
Yeah, it actually is. Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 40. It's 40 by 60. It's 40 foot wide, 60 foot long.
All right, very nice. Yeah, man, that's like the ultimate man cave right there. That is just.
It is. It is. I mean, when I moved out here, I was like, man, I wanted to do just have a place where I could put everything. Because I just had stuff in boxes, and just 10,000. It's not a bad problem to have, just a bunch of stuff. But when you don't know where it's at, and I try to keep it somewhat organized. It's this little boat's got some stuff on it right now, but I try to, keep it up pretty tight and, keep everything organized.
All right, last question from a fellow Alabama angler. His name is John. He says it's the first time that he's done the instant feedback, but he said
cool.
He's going to Sam Rayburn for the first time here. Real quick, any advice where he should concentrate his efforts during the hot month of June?
Yes, Sam Rayburn I fished there a couple times. Not many, but the area really that I like the most and probably produces the most big fish is within, I would say 3 or 4 miles of Castle Boykin. That's the ramp. It's called Castle Boykin, and there's a bridge right there. And 3 or 4 miles below that bridge and a mile or two above that bridge, you start getting into some timber. But below the bridge right there, Indian Creek, really the main lake, there's a lot of ledges, brush piles, and there's grass too, probably. I don't know the grass situation this year, but tons of brush piles out there. And it's, that area through there just holds a lot of fish, and it's really the only area I'd probably fish.
That deep cranking bite gets on fire this time of the year too.
Yeah. It's brush piles, ledges, big crankbait, a Carolina rig. A Carolina rig, like a power hog, like a big creature bait. That's tough to beat in Texas. A 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce. Last time I was there it was in late May, and caught a lot of big fish on a Carolina rig, and it's just kind of a Texas deal, but should be fun. That's what I would try to look at.
All right, man. Can't thank you enough spending the day with me, with Matt being gone, and you're just an unbelievable angler. So much future ahead of you. And to accomplish everything that you've done so far in your career is just amazing. So best of luck to you, man, and just keep it going. Keep it going,
Appreciate
man.
It, Mark. Yeah, we're going to try to keep it going. And, thanks for having me on anytime. I'm glad I could share, how I fished and answer some questions. So I appreciate it. And hopefully Matt will put it to him this week. And, maybe if he wins, y'all have me on, I can interview Matt.
Done. Consider it done, man.
All right.
All right, Jordan, man. Take care.
All right, buddy.
All right, see ya.
See ya.
All right, there you have it. Jordon Lee, great stuff. with a guy that's just had so much success in his very, very young career. All right, that's going to wrap it up today. Tomorrow, Brandon Cobb, and talk about his performance at Eufaula there in Alabama. And then Matt Airy on Wednesday. We will hear from Matt tomorrow. And I need to update everybody on this. The Apex game's going to take place a week from Tuesday. The cutoff is done. Okay, if you haven't entered, I know I got the banner still out there, but if you have not entered, too late. You're done. All right, you had plenty of time to get entered into the Apex Bass Games. I will be reaching out on Wednesday, maybe Tuesday night, actually. Either Tuesday night or Wednesday, to the two winners that are going to be on Bass Talk Live on a special show next Tuesday to compete for a lot of stuff, over $1,500 in striking and lose merchandise right here on BTL. Once again, I want to thank Jordon Lee. And please, if you're listening to us on iTunes or any other podcast, make sure you leave us a rating and a review. It helps us out tremendously. I didn't see anything on the instant feedback, so I'm assuming the YouTube feed was working fine. If not, let me know. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. You get that little notification when we're live on YouTube. All right. And tomorrow we will hear from Matthew. So everybody be safe. That's it. I'm out of here.